Hello, this is Dave Michaels from Talking Points, live from New York. I'm at Starbucks, not far from Times Square, and I'm going to do unplanned, unscheduled episode five of Influence Me with none other than Jon Arnold. Hello, Jon. How are you?
Hey, Dave. We finally did it.
We're at our Starbucks.
We got our Starbucks here.
And
Five, is that the best you can do? I was supposed to be the first.
Well, they're not in any kind of order other than pure randomness, and this is pretty darn random right here. We tried to do it outside, but we didn't have enough bandwidth.
Right in front of Macy's.
Right. And so Jon, let's start off with in case some people don't know who you are. Tell us a little bit about what areas you cover in unified communications.
Sure. Okay, Dave. Well, similar to you, communications technologies, which means a million things, started out being VoIP, and it became what we now know as UCaaS, is unified communications. So basically, yes, that's the coffee grinder behind us. We're in New York. So it's collaboration technologies, meetings, voice, video, all of that. And then over time, the contact center kind of creeps in and those worlds have come together. And now everything falls under AI. I hate to say it. So everything is AI flavored in the research that I'm doing. And here we are. We're using not much AI, but it's close. It's close.
So not much AI at all. Had the wrong banner up there for a moment. Let me get your. I thought I had your Twitter handle on here. I don't have your Twitter handle, so I don't have it pre-typed. I'll type it in a moment while he's answering the next question. It's Arnold Jon, but I'll get to that in just a moment.
Jon.
So Jon, I find you a fascinating person. I find you one of the most funniest people I know. I find you so broad in the things you know, from movie trivia to geography to whatever. You live in Canada. You're an American. How the hell did you get to Canada, by the way? Just briefly, how did you do that?
It's a story. Our family relocated from the Boston area when I was a kid. And there's a little bit of a story to that. But basically, we came to Canada as a family. And I've been there ever since. And I've been rooted there for a long, long time. My kids are there. Most of my circle of friends are there. And Toronto's been home for a long time. And, dual citizen, like you say.
Did I get that right? Arnold, I got it right?
You did.
All right, tricky keyboard. Okay, so you live in Canada, you travel the world like I do. I see you at events, running these here in New York. But I found out at some of the events you actually play music. You have a band called the Siptones with some other consultants. So tell me, I saw you on keyboards. What instruments do you actually play?
So I've been a lifelong piano player, and since then I've picked up guitar when I was a teenager. So those are my two main instruments. And we've got a music gene in our family, and I'm what I'd call a recreational musician, not professional, but play for fun. And yes, with our consultants, we've been doing the Siptones about 10 years now, but we only play at industry events. So we're all virtual guys everywhere like us, But occasionally, if the stars line up, we get to play at events.
And you said piano. Some people that play piano they always say keyboards. Is there a difference between piano and keyboards?
Well, piano is a keyboard instrument. It's easy to call it piano. Everyone knows what that means. If I say keyboards, you can easily think I'm playing the typewriter on the computer.
I play keyboards. Yeah.
And so we all are keyboard players, right? And but the other thing too is if you are a horn player. Sometimes the horns are referred to as keys because there are also keys that you play with your fingers. But generally, keyboard is piano.
So you've had some guitars, you've had some pianos in the various homes you've lived in. Pianos you don't normally travel with. You have some keyboard or portable keyboards you travel with.
Yes, a marching band is not a good idea for piano players.
Or cello.
You saw it too, right? And also, by the way, when you say keyboards or piano is one type of keyboard, right? There's organ, right? There's a Hammond B3, there's church organs, pipe organs, and you get really archaic with, harpsichords and clavichords. These are all keyboard instruments, but the piano is the king of keyboard
So pianos you don't own very many of, but I wanted to ask you what was the favorite instrument you've ever owned. But maybe it's better to ask you what is your favorite instrument you've ever played.
Well, not far from where we are. You know that line, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Outside the New York Public Library, when the weather's nice, there is a piano out there. And I played it just for fun when we were here a few years ago. That's probably the most fun piano I played, and I got pictures of it. And I did another one in Amsterdam once too. It was on the street. A lot of cities that have fun with music, they appreciate it, you can tell, because they have public instruments that anyone can sit down and play at. To me, that's how you bring people together. You know, it's nothing like music. You play a song and people all of a sudden turn up, and it's a party not too long after that.
So I mentioned that you watched a lot of movies that I've watched. You're always quick with the movie quote. So I put together a quiz for you here. This
Right.
he has not seen the questions. Has not seen the questions. But I am going to name a movie, and you're going to give me a quote from that movie. All right. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8 movies here, and I expect you to give me a quote from all 8 of them.
Let's try it. I'm going to look either really good or really bad.
Of course, no movies have been made in the last 20 years, so you're safe. Okay, so
Are you going to have any silent movies?
there
There are quotes in silent movies.
okay, well that's an interesting one. I didn't think that far. Okay, so the first movie, Blazing Saddles.
Okay.
Give me a quote.
They're darker than us.
They're darker than that. Okay, all right.
That's not politically incorrect. But it's only Mel Brooks can do.
All right. Okay, all right, I'll accept that. Godfather 1.
Okay. You ready? Okay. A woman can be careless, but a man can never be careless. Now, about a woman, yeah, I got that right. That might be from the 2, but I think it's from Godfather 1.
I cannot place that quote in Godfather 1, but I can't place it in Godfather 2. So give me another one from Godfather 1.
Well, don't forget the cannolis.
That's not the line. Come on.
What?
Leave.
Actually, I'm doing it. You know what that's from? That's from the Office.
Hey, we're live here. Come on.
We're live. Okay, so it's Jack. No, it is. He says, no, leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Okay,
right?
that's what I was
Now,
talking
that's the second reference to cannoli.
Oh, okay.
The beginning, it sets it up. The wife tells him, because he told her he's going out on some errands, and before he leaves, what the last thing she says to him is, bring the cannolis. So that ties it together at the end.
I see.
Very good.
More than you wanted to know, folks. Okay. Willy Wonka.
That's the Humpa Lumpas. Are there really any quotable lines in there? There must be some. I'm thinking of Gene Wilder singing some of these songs.
Yeah.
Ah, jeez. You know what? You got me on the quotes.
That's that one. Okay.
Give me a quote. You give me a quote.
No. This is me interviewing you. Wayne's World.
I was gonna say swing, but that's not really.
I would accept that. I would accept that one.
Well, just say Wade, Pearl, Stan Mikita.
I have to say, I remember seeing Wayne's World in the theater when it was brand new. I was like shocked how good that movie was. I was expecting it to be just a crappy movie. It was a great movie.
You can't. That stuff is. You can't be funny with it today, but then you could make it funny.
When Harry Met Sally.
Well, the easy one is I'll have what she's having, right? But I like some of
That's not far from here.
Well, actually, you're right. All right, and who's the woman who says it?
So-and-so's mother.
You get it.
Meathead's mother. Rob Reiner's mother.
No, Carl Reiner's
No.
wife.
Well, same thing.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes,
Same
you're right.
thing.
Okay, we're both right.
All right. The Big Lebowski.
Well, okay. I don't bowl on Shabbos. Right?
Okay. All right. Godfather 2.
This is where I mix up. I do mix them up both in each movie, but it's probably. You know what? I got to think of a good one for this. I'm trying to think of when they get rid of Fredo.
All right, time's up on that one.
Okay.
And that was only 7. I didn't realize one of these was a trivia question. So So the trivia question is: name all 4 Marx Brothers.
Well, first of all, there were 5.
Wow.
Okay. But the ones that are the famous ones, of course, would be right Chico, Harpo, Groucho, right? Now there was Zeppo, who was the 4th, and then the 5th. They started out in silent movies from vaudeville. It was Gummo, but I don't think Gummo was in any of the movies.
I see. That's
I didn't like that.
Okay. I'm a big Marx Brothers fan. I didn't
We
know
both
that.
are.
I didn't know that. But let's talk about black and white movies. Actually, one of my favorite movies of all time is not a black and white movie, but it's about black and white to color. It's Singing in the Rain, which is one of my best movies of all time. But you like black and white movies. You like the old
silent
stuff.
films. I'm a cinephile from all those early eras.
And so name some movies that you would actually enjoy watching today that are black and white.
Anything by Orson Welles.
Anything by Orson? Okay.
Okay. You gotta
name one by Orson.
Well, Ambersons, right? Citizen Kane, Lady from Shanghai, right? And one of the best, which isn't an Orson Welles film, but it's called Thin Man, which is a Harry Lime. I always mix up the Thin Man.
No, if you want to go back to lines, it's Rosebud.
No, Rosebud is Rosebud. So this is a good one. So Rosebud, of course, is the keeper from Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
But in the Third Man, I still mix up the Thin Man. In the Third Man, where Orson Welles plays this guy who, he's a black marketeer and all this stuff. Anyways, the famous line. This is still one of the best scenes ever. When and I can't remember the guy he goes with. They go on a Ferris wheel ride. It's a very famous scene. And they're basically, it's all about ethics, selling penicillin to the black market and all this stuff in Vienna. And he has this great line about how he says, where does all the violence in the world get you? We had the Borgias. He goes on and on talking about how, the Borgias created all this violence in the world, but they gave us the Renaissance. What have the Swiss ever given us living peacefully other than the Cuckoo Clock? I mean, it's so well said.
So well said.
Poorly paraphrased.
So older than black and white movies, you like to watch silent films.
Well, yeah, I don't watch them so much anymore.
Is that just turning the volume
Yes,
up?
we just make them silent.
Yeah.
Magic.
Yeah.
No, but we should do a whole episode about it's the same thing with our industry transitioning from analog to digital with VoIP. The evolution of cinema from the earliest days when they called it moving pictures, because that's what it was, right? Which started out being silent, and eventually sound came in, and eventually color came in, and then music came in. They completely changed the art form.
That's what I love so much about Singing in the Rain. It's that disruptive power of talkies. And one of the great stars in Singing in the Rain, she had a bad voice, and so she was doomed in the new medium. And that happens if you're great in analog, and you have to switch to digital.
So here's what being a hero is, or being a risk taker creatively looks like. Charlie Chaplin is kind of the king of silent comedy. Perhaps his greatest film is called City Lights, and it was made in 1930. The talkies started coming out in 27 with the jazz singer. But by the time 1930 came around, silence were dead. Sound was the way to go.
His greatest film wasn't appreciated.
And he was so confident in the art form of silent film. In 1930, he made City Lights as a silent film deliberately to show power it still had, and it still is. If you've never seen it, folks, it's still one of the greatest achievements of cinema. And Chaplin is like top to bottom, everything. Today in this whole Me Too stuff, you look at the man and his life. Not a nice guy, not an easy guy to like. He lived in Switzerland for a reason.
Once you get a little close to that microphone.
Yeah, but I hope y'all can hear us. But yeah, see that film, folks, if you want to know what
there's another, again, around disruptive technologies and stuff. There's a I can't remember the name of the plane, but there's a famous plane that is World War II plane, a great fighting plane that came after the jet era, and so it was a propeller plane, and nobody appreciates how great of a plane that was because it was after the jet era. Okay, so back you mentioned Chaplin just now. When I think of silent films, I think of Chaplin. I think of Buster Keaton. Which one do you think is more genius?
Between the two, they're both Mount Rushmore guys for sure. Now Chaplin, more of a genius just because he was the consummate. He was the complete package. right? He did everything, including writing a lot of the music. Buster Keaton was still the best at, of course, that whole pantomime thing, and his ingenious use of stagecraft to kind of get his effect. Here's the thing you probably never known. You take it from me because you probably never heard this before. Guess what movie in 1967 that Buster Keaton was a creative consultant to? You're never going to get it.
Go ahead.
I'm giving you 5 seconds.
It's over. Surprise it.
The Graduate.
Oh.
So just like we watched, you and I have both seen The Offer, which is about the making of The Godfather. The making of The Graduate wouldn't justify a 10-part series, but it would justify 3 or 4 segments for sure. And one of them was the use of Buster Keaton to come in to orchestrate all the church scenes at the end when Elaine gets married, and all the things that Dustin Hoffman had to do to get himself into the church, and of course to escape with Catherine, the wife's name, well, Elaine, of course. I think it was Catherine Brown. Anyways, and they escape on the bus. All of that had to be choreographed to work like as one long scene. And Buster Keaton was the king of this. And he advised him how to do the physical comedy, to do the stuff he did, to run down the stairs, take the cross, put it in, bolt the door so they couldn't get out, and they escaped. And that was, and by the way, yeah, anyways, I'll stop at that, but that's a great example.
So we mentioned we're both Marx Brothers fans. What's the best Marx Brothers movie?
You have to kind of still go with the Night at the Opera.
Yeah, okay.
Right? You know?
Both of them are great. Day of the Races.
Day of the Races.
The Night of the Opera.
Fantastic, yeah. But okay, you know, get your Fruitsy ice cream.
And the folks today don't realize that Day of the Races and Night of the Opera are the album names of
Queen.
Of Queen.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think Night of the Opera is just fantastic. And so, all-time favorite old movie? For me, it's Singing in the Rain. I told you.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You know, one that would be right up there for me would be Strangers on the Train, 1939, Alfred Hitchcock. Yep. Just fantastic. Just the way Hitchcock told the story and built up all the suspense. You know, North by Northwest has got to be up there for one of those. That's not a black and white one, though. Sorry, but you know, you also have to look at some of the early feature films. You know, Intolerance, for all of its kind of out of step with today's values, what went into creating that film for that time is pretty incredible. And the fact that we still survived. And you have to remember, folks, like 90% of silent films that were made don't exist anymore. They're disintegrated and lost. Yeah, so we only have a little bit to work with. So it's hard to appreciate just how creative that genre was.
So we talk about that transition from silent to talkies, but also the transition from black and white to color, and how important that was for like Wizard of Oz, because that was part of the plot line, actually. You know.
Totally, right? Totally. When we were kids, this is what you're missing today, kids. When that movie was on TV, it came on once a year.
Thanksgiving.
And it was a family event.
Thanksgiving was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I'm not sure about that.
It was a family event. People had to gather around the TV because it was such a special film, and to watch it on the TV is great. But of course, even better in a theater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So many great films. So many good directors and actors. And if you haven't seen Fabelmans, it's a good film too. I don't see a lot of new movies, but that tells you a little bit about the.
So you saw a new movie about old movies.
Exactly. That's why I saw it.
All right.
That scene about Where's the Horizon from John Ford, that's one of those teachable moments. If you haven't figured that out yet, you'll never be a good director. So there's little things that, you know, the observation of how you take in the world around you has so much to do with what goes into making a great movie.
All right, John. Well, I want to thank you for being my guest on InfluenceMe. And InfluenceMe is absolutely the #1 interview series of UCC influencers. There's nothing out there.
There's nothing like it.
Nothing out there.
With promotional considerations to Starbucks.
And you're the first one we did like in the same room. This is very
pretty good.
So thank you for being my guest. And if you want to follow John, you got his Twitter right there on the screen. And that's it.
That's
a wrap.
Thanks for having me, having us. Bye from New York. It's InfluenceMe.